the News Channel 5 network. This is SportsLine.
Hey there, SportsLine on your television. Steve Layman here with you. Glad you are here with us on this Tuesday night on News Channel 5. Plus, open phone lines tonight, so we would love for you guys to get involved with the program. 737-7767. Plenty of opportunities to talk about just about anything you want. Some of the news from today: the Predators for the second straight day with a signing of one of their young talented players. Today it's Pontus Aberg for a 2-year, $1.3 million deal. The best part of this for Aberg is the fact that it is a one-way deal. He was a victim of the numbers game much of last season here in Nashville, where when he played well and the team praised him. Peter Laviolette liked the job that he did. But he had one of those flexible contracts where they could send him back to Milwaukee and other players they could not. And so Aberg only managed to play 15 games during the regular season with the Predators. He then played 16 games in the playoffs because this was a guy that, with his skill set, speed, ability to score, a lot of talent offensively, they really liked and thought he can help them out in a lot of different ways during the postseason. We saw him a little bit in Chicago. We saw him thrust into action against St. Louis. And then he had to play every game from that point on after the Kevin Fiala injury. He had the game winner in Game 5 in Anaheim. He had that spectacular goal to start off Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final in Pittsburgh. He certainly showed flashes in those 16 games in the playoffs, to the point that a lot of people figure that he is a top 2-line forward next year for the Preds. And so no more worries about going back to Milwaukee for him. He will be here in Nashville next season. Frederick Gaudreau signed yesterday to a 3-year deal. The first 2 years of his deal, still a 2-way deal. So possibility that Gaudreau spends some time in Milwaukee, spends some time here next year because of his contract flexibility. But obviously he proved himself with 3 goals in the Stanley Cup Final that he has the ability to play at this level as well. Neither one of these guys making a lot of money. And so this is the opportunity again for David Poile to assemble a young nucleus. Guys that fit their system, have the skill set to play well and contribute, yet don't break the bank. Still something like $19 or $20 million left for the Predators under the cap room, which is good because they're going to have to spend probably 8 or 9 to sign Ryan Johansson. They're going to have to sign Victor Arvidsson for a hefty sum. Austin Watson's still a restricted free agent, and you got to hold some money out there for Mike Fisher, hoping that the captain wants to come back and continue to play and not go into retirement at age 37. Nevertheless, getting Aberg done and making sure he's back and happy and ready to be in Smashville next year is important for the Nashville Predators. We continue our countdown to training camp, 10 days away from the Titans reporting at St. Thomas Sports Park. So many things to talk about with that team, and we can continue that discussion tonight on the program here as well. 737-7767 is the number. We'll talk some college football, more from Nick Saban tonight. Mark Stoops, the Kentucky football coach. Some interesting stuff about his brother in his comments at Media Day as well. Plus, Derek Barnett, the former Tennessee Vol, getting set for Eagles training camp. And Roger Federer, off of his 8th Wimbledon title over the weekend. We'll hear from those folks coming up during the show tonight. But again, we want to hear from you. 737-7767 is the number. Call us up. Phone lines are open tonight. Your opportunity to take the show where you would like it to go. And so we begin tonight with LD. LD, thanks for the call. You are first up tonight here on SportsLine.
Oh, thanks again. And hi, SportsLine. How you doing tonight, Steve?
Doing great. Thanks for the call.
My first initial statement is towards those Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
I thought that last session was a great session. The 9 wins pulls me to the campaign 9 for life. I hope that we win 9 for life. But I'm saying to these sessions of Titans football seasons, especially this upcoming session, with the dime defenses or the packages that they're going to blitz from, how effective will Ryan or any one of those new Titans be if we don't keep the ball ball longer this year. And I'll leave it up to you, Steve. But, man, I've seen you travel this year, man. You've had a wonderful year, man. I hope you see you at those Titans games this year, too, while we go 9 for life with the campaign.
Yeah, definitely going to be out there with the Titans on the road this year, and should be a lot of fun. It'll be interesting to see how they build off of that 9-win season last year, because that's really it. Last year they snuck up on some people to get to 9 wins. Now I think there's expectations. Peter King the other day from the Monday Morning Quarterback came out and said he thinks the team that will get everybody's attention by November 1st in the league will be the Tennessee Titans. So they're not sneaking up on anybody this year, LD. So that's the question, is now can they go in with expectations and build off of 9 wins and get 10 or 11 and win a division and get to the playoffs, because that's a challenge in front of them.
In our minds. I think as long as we keep Casey in our minds, I think we got a good push.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely correct. And I think, to your point of the secondary, Logan Ryan is one of the people that I'm going to be the most interested in watching when we get to training camp. I would say him and Adoree Jackson may be the #1 position group at cornerback, just because the struggles have been so real for this team in pass coverage, in pass defense over the past few years, because the cornerbacks just haven't been very good. Now you've got a first-round draft pick in Jackson who's just about as fast as anybody in the NFL, and you've got a guy in Logan Ryan who's graded out as a top 15 type of cornerback in the NFL over the past few years and won 2 Super Bowls in New England. You put those guys out there, I think it's an immediate upgrade from what they've had in the past. Just how much, I think, tells you whether this defense is a good defense or a potentially great defense this year, to couple with that offense that you talked about.
Wonderful, wonderful. I thank you again for your comments, Steve, and I stay watching the show.
Thanks you. Appreciate it, LD. And it's going to be fun. It is going to be really interesting to watch this Titans team this year. And I think that defensive side of the ball is going to be fascinating, because Dick LeBeau obviously has the pedigree. He knows what he's doing in terms of calling defenses. And I think up front, especially if Carl Klug can get back healthy, I think you're going to have a loaded defensive line. Jarrell Casey's a Pro Bowler. Al Woods plays well. Angelo Blackson's a big guy up front. You just signed Sylvester Williams from the Broncos. I think this is going to be a physical, imposing defensive front for the Titans. You've got a Pro Bowl outside linebacker in Brian Orakpo and another guy in Derek Morgan, who was probably actually an even more effective pass rusher last year for the Titans. Avery Williamson's had over 100 tackles the past couple of years. I think you feel like your front 7 defensively in this 3-4 is pretty good. Again, the question is in that secondary. And that has been a real question mark for the past several years. But now you change the cornerbacks. You bring in Jonathan Cyprien, who was in really good safety last year for the Jaguars, has lots of experience, and Kevin Byard, who was a really good rookie for the Titans last year. Can those 4 guys bring the secondary out of the doldrums and allow them to maybe blitz a little bit more and come with a little bit more because they're confident enough in what they can do on the back end? That, to me, is going to be a huge question that we'll get the answers to as the season progresses. But depending on what the answer is, I think is the difference between the Titans being a contender in the AFC South, a team that maybe has enough offense with Marcus Mariota, with that running game, with some new weapons at wide receiver, to continue to put up points and win games and battle in this division, or a team that frankly has 2 dominant units, offensive and defense, that may just be hands down the best team in the AFC South. The other thing I'm going to be very curious about, and we won't know this until we actually get into the season. This isn't a training camp question that can be answered for you. But I got the feeling in dealing with this team in the offseason, in their OTAs, in minicamp, that there's still a chip on that shoulder and a we want to prove it to you type of mentality despite the fact that they had a winning season last year. And now people are starting to turn the corner and say, hey, look at the Titans. They could be the winner in the AFC South. They could be a playoff team this year. They could be the surprise team. It's been since 2008 since the last time the Titans were in the playoffs, and I think a lot of guys in that room, even the newcomers, understand that. It's been a long time, and they haven't accomplished anything yet. And I think that hunger is going to drive them, and I expect them to be ready from the start of the season when they get the Raiders, when they get the Seahawks in the first couple of weeks of the year. And we'll see if that can drive them from 9 wins to, like we said, 10 or 11, a division championship, wins in the playoffs. Because last year, that was a huge factor with this team. That chip on the shoulder that people don't believe you're any good after going 2-14 and 3-13. I think they believe that they left a lot out there last year. They lost some games they could have won. In their mind, they should have won the division. Take care of some of those games against some of the division foes. You can't lose that game to Jacksonville. I know Marcus Mariota got hurt, but Jacksonville's a team that if the Titans are going to be who they're going to be or want to be this year, you have to sweep Jacksonville. I think 2009 was the last time the Titans swept the Jaguars in a season. And the Jags haven't been any good in that time. Most of the time, the Titans haven't either. But if you're going to be good, you have to beat the teams that you have to beat. And the Jags are part of that. And frankly, if you're going to be good in the NFL, you need to beat the teams within your division. And it goes back to 2011, since the last time the Titans beat the Colts in a game. Finally broke through against the Texans last year after a long losing streak against them. But you're going to have to win more games in the division. 2-4 last year is the reason this team isn't in the playoffs a year ago. The reason they aren't the division champion. They went 7-3 against everybody else in football. Won 6 of their final 8 games, played well down the stretch, beat the defending Super Bowl champions in the Broncos, won at Kansas City, beat the Packers. They won a bunch of games that nobody gave them a chance to win in last year. They proved they could play with anybody in football. What they didn't do is take care of business in their division. And so one of the number one priorities for this Titans team this year has to be protect home field, win the division, win the games you have to win. And then you can go compete and try and win those games against the best teams. Beat the Raiders, beat the Seahawks. Those games are important, but you gotta win the games that are in front of you to win. The Jaguars, the Browns this year, the Rams. Those are must-win games if you're going to be the team that the Titans hope they can be this year. Phone lines are open. 737-7767 is the number. We could talk some Titans tonight. Training camp now just 10 days away. Hard to believe. Where did the summer go? We can talk more about those Predators moves. Frederick Gaudreau yesterday, Panas Aberg today, both re-signed. Leaves the Preds with 3 restricted free agents. Ryan Johansson, Victor Arvidsson on the top line. Arvidsson and Austin Watson have both elected to go to salary arbitration, which will take place over the next week. So unless a deal gets done before then, those deals will get done for them with the team. So working on those final pieces to make sure this is done, and then, of course, waiting on the answer from Mike Fisher on whether he is going to retire or return to the Predators as captain next season. Again, phone lines are open tonight. 737-7767 is the number. We would love to hear from you. Help steer the conversation tonight. Call us up. Be a part of the program. We'll take our first break. We'll be back. Phone calls and more straight ahead here on SportsLine on News Channel 5 Plus.